would relationships for many people be so different if they created boundaries?
Yep.
If they said, this is the line, this is what I will accept, this is the expectation that I want to go into this relationship having. And I think that when you do that, it creates a healthy relationship and it establishes communication in its clearest form as being the foundation and the baseline for the relationship.
Welcome to the Push Podcast. Why push? Because a nudge is just too friendly.
And friend, we're here to help you get your shit together. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Janelle.
And we're the Copelands.
We've got 3 daughters, 2 businesses, a mortgage, and lots of responsibilities. So just like you, we're struggling to find that perfect balance of ambitious go-getter hustle while still staying present, loving our kids, and working on our relationship.
And doing the laundry, going to the grocery store. Oh, and don't forget being mindful.
Yeah, all of the stuff. So if you're juggling all the things, but you're also trying to get to the next level, guess what? You're in the right place. So get ready to be pushed. Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle.
And I'm Eddie.
Nice to meet you, Eddie.
It's nice to meet you too. What episode is this?
This is episode number 68 of the Push Podcast.
68. The special number 68.
Almost to 70.
Yeah. There's a couple of fantastic things that have happened with the number 68.
All right, let's hear it. And you can't think of one.
The 68 reasons why this podcast is awesome.
68,
right?
And I owe you one. Speaking of
What's that?
This podcast being awesome and there being 68 reasons, I want to encourage you guys to please leave us a review. We are so close to 300 reviews, 300 5-star reviews. So if you're going to leave a 1-star review, just skip past this. Don't do that. But if you are a regular listener, I'm just going to beg you to please take some time, and it'll take you 30 seconds. Just say something nice, something that was a takeaway, something that you got from this. I know people are busy and people asking you to take the time to write a review about their business or their podcast. I understand that helps us, but it also helps us continue to create. And everybody needs some encouragement every now and then, but this isn't for you to say nice things about us so we can feel great. It's for you to say either thank you or, hey, I got something out of this, because it helps us know that we're on the right track, right? It's a little bit of validation, I guess.
And also, I think when people see other reviews, they're encouraged to listen. And so we want more listeners. If you got anything from this podcast, if you think this podcast was of anything of value and you have not done a review yet, or maybe you have, do a review.
That's how
say
you support.
Something nice,
that's how you show love.
And that's how you show love, but also that's how other people are encouraged to listen to it too, because they see other reviews. So,
well, let me put it in a different way. You do a lot of cool shit every day, whether you're momming, whether you're running your business, and you hope and wish that someone would recognize you just to give you a little note of confidence to know that you're moving in the right direction. These happen to actually help us, though. With our algorithm, it gets us exposed to more viewers who we could potentially be helping. So we help you. If you get something, you help us. You write a review. It gives us access to be able to help other people. So that's my 2-second spiel.
And there you go.
So today I asked Eddie, I said, he goes, we got to get more reviews. Like, I just don't understand. Like, why is it so hard for people to write reviews? And I said, what?
You said, do you normally leave reviews?
He said, nope. So you're going to start leaving reviews.
Well, yeah, I told you, I said, anytime my apps, whatever apps I have, say, hey, what do you think about this app? I always do 5-star. And
there you go.
And so I keep it moving.
You do write reviews.
I do reviews, yeah.
I only write 5-star Yelp reviews. I don't write 1-star Yelp reviews.
And there you go. And so
I think there's a special place in hell for people that write 1-star Yelp reviews, especially during COVID. Not cool. Not cool, people. Don't do it.
Well, this episode's coming out, I think, December 22nd?
22nd.
A few days away from
Feliz
Christmas,
Navidad.
if you do that kind of thing, you know? And I think what is interesting about this year is, will people stay home? Like right now we're sitting here, we got a lot of stuff going on, hospital beds, all the different things that, based on the
people
fact that...
People don't think it's serious.
But based on, people gathering for Thanksgiving, what are people going to do for Christmas? What do you think?
I don't know. Christmas is one of those holidays. Shouldn't you want to stay home? I mean, we talked about this in a previous episode when we talked about the holidays last year. was about like the rule that I had when we had small kids was we're not traveling. Like
Right.
we're just not. So in order to avoid that, we have to invite everyone and their mother to come spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with us. Right.
And I think so. The reason why I say that is because what's interesting, what this episode is all about, which we're going to get into, is about boundaries, right? It's about setting expectations. And so everyone is, some people are doing social distancing type of connections and connecting with people, whether it be Zooms or maybe they're going to an outside venue and keeping space. But I think what happens is that family and friends, they want to come over, they want to gather. And I think people have a tough time setting the boundary, saying no.
Because you'll feel bad and
you'll feel
be
bad.
The odd man out.
There's a certain level of guilt you take on and all those different things. And so I think that, which is so relevant to what we're going to talk about today, is that I think that what we have is that we have a situation where people probably don't want to gather, but they have a difficult time setting boundaries. And they have a difficult time saying, hey, this is the expectation for my house. If you're going to come, you're going to wear a mask and you're going to, wash your hands. You're going to take your shoes off, whatever. It's going to be outdoors,
keep our distance.
All those different things. And I think that it's unusual for people to set those types of boundaries, especially for people they care about.
I appreciate people that set boundaries. I'm a big boundary person, so I think I like rules.
Yeah. And I think, so one of the things that would kind of spark this, we had an individual come over. His name is Mike. What's Mike's last name?
Mike Eckenberg.
Mike Eckenberg came over and
he's from MD Designs.
Yes, and he is a woodsman, right? Or a wood maker?
A wood maker?
Is that what it is?
Mike Eckenberg.
A wood engineer?
No, he's a wood maker.
A wood maker. Well, the wood is already made. He manipulates it.
He's a furniture designer. He's helping us with cabinets. So he's taking over my cabinet project. That's a whole nother what in the world. And he's also helping to build a library in our office. So if you need some woodwork done, go to MG Woodworks on Instagram and tell Mike that we sent you.
And I got to tell you, so off topic a little bit, and we'll get into why Mike is so significant to this episode, but what energy and that he brought, like selling his product, like selling his services. Like some people, like one of the things that we've gone through, and we've talked about the remodel on the podcast quite often, but when we were getting with contractors and trying to figure out who we were going to have as a contractor and who we trusted, no one was selling us. No one was like painting a picture, like giving us a strong suggestion about, hey, this is what I think you should do, giving us anything that we can latch on and say, oh, that sounds great. Everything was coming from you saying, okay, well, I want to do this. And they're like, okay, yeah, if you want to do that.
I was so disappointed in every contractor that we auditioned, I'll say, right? Because we teach business owners how to be a reflection of the business that they hope to have, right? And ironically, Passion to Profit, we're in week 7 and it's all about sales. And one of our mantras is always be closing. One of the biggest things that people, where they go wrong when it comes to business and sales is they don't ask for the damn sale. So I interviewed probably 15 different contractors. Not one of them asked for the sale. Not one of them said, you know what, I like your vision, but here's what we can do in addition to that. How does that sound to you? Like, get me all pumped up and like, oh God, I got to have this guy. He's got great vision, or girl, but there were no girl contractors, right? And so that was sadly disappointing. And so I went with the guy that seemed to vibe with me the most and basically said, okay, can I give you some money to start? Like, I hate when people don't ask me for my money. Yeah. Ask for my damn money. Like, I want you to earn my sale, right?
Yeah, and I think also, like, they didn't have any enthusiasm.
Nope.
Like, it wasn't like they were like, oh my God, this is great. Like, I can see where you want to go with this. This is going to be amazing. One of the things I did for another client is I did this, I did this, I did this. And
show me how you solved problems
and
for someone else.
And that's what Mike did. He was like, oh, let me tell you what I did with my other clients. We did this. Let me show this. Let me find this photo so I can give you some ideas. And then he was like, I would like to see, like, even though you had some ideas, he was like, I think I would like to see this. And you're like, okay, I did that.
And Eddie just got sucked in. And I don't know if you saw, But at one point, I kind of like bowed down and backed out because I already interacted with him last week and he got me for $3,500, right? And I was totally fine with it. I was just like, yeah, he earned that. I'm going to buy that, right?
Right.
And so you had asked me, how much did you pay for that? I told you and you were like, ooh, right? But he came over today and when you guys started engaging about shelves for the office, I watched you get sucked in and I was like, oh, I love this. I just want to see. And at one point I stopped Mike and I said, I got to tell you, I'm really proud of you right now.
Yeah.
Like, keep going. Okay, let's go. And Eddie gobbles up Instagram ads, you guys. So if you put something in front of Eddie's face and it just seems like you're halfway excited about it, oh, he's going to buy that shit.
Well, here's the thing.
True facts. That's my
love,
what in the world.
I love sales, right?
The art of sales.
The art of sales. I would say that I'm a pretty good salesperson. I can sell pretty much anything.
Right.
And so I think many salespeople are easily sold.
I would say salespeople who like to sell like we do, we're more intrigued by your process. We like to watch it unfold, and it gets me excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like where this is going.
Yeah, I like
Keep
where
going.
this is going.
I want to see what you do with this.
Excited, right? I want to buy it, whatever it is.
So today, Mike made another sale. Here's why this is important.
He got one. He said, my other client, I built a library. I was like, you built a library? What?
Yeah.
We need that.
Okay. So here's why Mike's important. Last week when he came over, we were supposed to have a quick measurement kind of thing. Kayla, when he left, Kayla goes, how long was that guy here? And he just, he had great questions. He said that him and his fiance had been following our renovation. They love the ideas and the stuff that we use. So, he's asking great questions. Of course, you want to show off your house. So it turned into a cool conversation. And then he had followed from the Cake Mamas and like started asking about business, talked to me about one of his big fears, which I'm going to put out there is like getting in front of the camera and representing his business, right?
Oh,
he
you got to
could
get over that,
talk
Mike.
like crazy, but I said, there's no difference. Like, and by the way, that's not something you could die from. You'll get better every time. So I gave him some pointers and it was a long conversation. Today he comes back and meets Eddie. And, he's got great conversation. So we're talking. And at one point he says, I really like your guys' vibe. You remind me a lot of my fiance, right? She doesn't let anything go. Like she notices, she calls me out on things. Like if I had an ego before, damn sure don't know now, or I damn sure don't now, right?
Yeah, he said he got a shirt that she would not let him.
It said, all work, no luck. And he got it from an Instagram ad.
I thought it said no luck, all work. I don't know. One of the two.
All work, no luck. No luck, all work. No luck, all work. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Anyways, he gets this shirt from an Instagram ad. He said it pumped him up. He gets the shirt and his fiance starts messing with him. Like he's sitting there at his desk typing.
Him.
And she goes, all work, no luck. And just like leaves the room. And so he hates the shirt now because she ruined it for him. But they sound like a fun couple, right? So he starts explaining like how she got him. And I don't even know if she knows. So if she's listening, then this is a fun treat for you. But he told us his words, my interpretation of his words.
Okay.
Where he said she literally had a conversation with me one night and she drew a line in the sand and she said, this is the line. Tonight, this is when it starts. I'm on this side. I like you. If you're going to be on this side with me, here's how it's going to go down. If you're not, if you're still seeing other people, if you've got other things going on, stay on that side of the line.
Yeah.
But you have a decision to make. And he said he was like, I'm fucking in, right? So not only did he go home and send text messages to all the chicks that he was talking to, anybody who was on the fence, he said he woke up pumped, ready to be on the other side of the line with her the next day. And he said he decided that wasn't even enough. So he changed his damn phone number.
Yeah.
And I was like, way too commit.
The great thing was, he said, I was dropping her off and we had been, kind of dating, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he said she got out of the car and basically dragged her leg across the concrete and said, this is the line. You need to pick what side you're on the line because I'm starting to like you.
Right.
And I thought, I was so inspired by that because I thought to myself, wow, like what amazing situation where someone says, this is the boundary.
Breaking news. I just got confirmation. Her name is Heather.
Heather.
Okay, there you go. So Heather drew a line with her foot.
Drew a line and created an expectation of the relationship right then and there and created this boundary. And I think that when I started to think about it and we started talking about it, it's like, man, would relationships for many people be so different if they created boundaries?
Yep.
If they said, this is the line, this is what I will accept, this is the expectation that I want to go into this relationship having. And I think that when you do that, it creates a healthy relationship and it establishes communication in its clearest form as being the foundation and the baseline for the relationship. And I think we've mentioned it before where we talked about T.I. and
T.I. and Tiny.
And
so
Tiny.
T.I. is a rapper for those that don't listen to hip hop. Apparently he, in the middle of their marriage, they have children. He went away to jail for something, came back, and her version of the story when they were on the Red Table Talk talking about it, she said, we went through rocky times when he came back because when he came back, he wasn't used to me running things. You know, I was running things. I was taking care of the kids, the house, the this. And he didn't like that I had a voice when he came back. And he said, oh, no. That's not accurate.
No. And then she said, you took my voice away when we were married and I got it back when you were away.
And he said, nope. You gave your voice away.
Yeah.
And we paused it, you guys, and had like a 30-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Because that's how we watch television. And I was like, you know, that's the thing is more women need to hear that. More women are willing to compromise what they're looking for in a relationship because you get one guy who might be hot. You think that maybe the relationship could last. And let's be real, when you're dating, you go in willing to compromise. Oh, I don't think he likes this, so I won't do this, right? And both people are trying to, I want to say, test each other to see what you can and cannot get away with. What part of the
real you will actually work in this relationship?
Well, that's not even, I think, what happens. I think you go in and you're testing the waters to see, can I get away with this? Can I not? Right?
Well, the reason why I said, and that's what I'm saying, like, I think two people come together and like we've talked about this before early in our relationship where you date and there's a facade, there's a perfect
you send your representative.
Yeah, you send your representative and your representative brings all the good qualities that everyone would want in a relationship. And I think slowly you peel back
to get to the real.
To get to the real you. And I think you test that to see, will she allow me to speak to her like this?
Right.
Will she allow me to do this in our relationship?
Do you think that's why our relationship has worked and been healthy? Because we didn't ever have that.
Right. No.
Like we were coworkers. We worked together. You got transferred. We were friends. I saw like the real you. You saw the real me. And actually, just for the record, I've probably said this in all 67 episodes, but I was not interested in Eddie.
That's a lie.
And then that is a lie. You know, that is the truth. And then you came to me and your selling point, because you sold me back to sales, right? You sold me when I said, no, I wouldn't go out with you. You said, listen, here's why this would be a great fit. And I was like, who the fuck does he think he is, right? And he said, I know the real you. You've never had to fake, you know, anything in front of me. You've been a bitch when you're a bitch. I know how you interact with people. I know how you are when you're happy, when you're sad, whatever. And that's why it will work, because you've never had to fake anything in front of me. And I've never done that with you. And I was like, who does he think he is? And I swear I couldn't stop thinking about that when you were done. I was like, God, that would be really freeing to not have to go on some shitty date with someone and like pretend to be nice and pretend like you could just like, you already know me, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that's why our relationship has worked?
I think we had a chemistry without the fake. We had a chemistry in an environment where I think we were able to see each other at our best, but also we were able to see each other in vulnerable situations.
Right.
And I think that is what makes it work. But I also think what makes it work too is that you had relationships before where maybe, and I don't know, you could tell us whether you set boundaries, but I didn't feel like you had a problem setting boundaries with me.
No, not at all.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the one boundary that we had a conversation about that I refused to not tolerate, like if you couldn't adhere to this, then it was a deal breaker for me, which was you can't control anything that I do and I can't control anything that you do. But you have to be fully in control of your responses.
Right.
So if you come home and you're upset, something makes you mad and you fly off at the handle, the rule was be responsible for yourself. Don't ever do some shit to me that you have to apologize for.
Right.
That was the rule.
Yeah.
And I agreed to do the same. I will never do anything to you deliberately or maliciously that I have to apologize for. Because to me, that
especially out of
exercises
an emotional spike.
Right.
Like
that exercises the biggest lack of self-control in a person, in a human, that and I can't tolerate.
And I think when you don't do that, or when people do that, they fly off the handle and they say it deteriorates trust.
Right. But how did you feel when I established that boundary? Because that has since then become a rule that we've lived our entire marriage on.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to the fact that we knew each other to a certain extent, where I think you knew kind of my disposition in a sense. Like I'm not a person that flies off the handle and says crazy things.
But people do crazy things when they're in love, and I knew you'd fall in love with me.
And so, but I didn't have a problem because we established it not in after an argument,
heightened conversation.
We established it in a level set manner, right? And I don't think I verbalized my like boundaries, but I think you knew I was a person that was like I had a moral compass, right? And I think my morality of like, hey, I don't steal, I don't lie, I don't. If there's money on the table, I'm gonna like, hey, is this yours?
Right, That was all new for me. I'm just gonna tell you, I came from Carson. I did not grow up like that. You find something, it's yours. Sorry for you. And I had to make an adjustment. And what's interesting, this is a moment I want to brag about you for a little while because maybe I don't get the chance to do that often. So let's see if you blush. But I'm working with a coach right now, and the coach asked me, who are you most inspired by? And I said, my husband.
Oh.
And he said, why? I said, because he has made me a better person. And he said, in what way? I said, well, I don't steal things. And I'm super honest. I've always been really honest, like brutally, but you make me honest when like it actually counts. You know what I mean? So you inspire me to be a better person. And I don't know, I might have wound up in jail or something. I don't know. I grew up differently. Right. I just did. I didn't grow up with that moral compass of like, hey, look around if you find money on the floor because it might belong to someone. Now I can proudly say that that's like in me. It's innate for all of us, but most importantly, our kids. Yeah, and it brings me so much joy to watch them. Like if they saw you, the listener, walk past our house and pick up $100 bill and not try to find out whose it was, they would talk so much shit about you. They would be like, what kind of person does that? How dishonest. Oh my God, they're going to get in a car accident. That's karma. Like they would be so appalled. And that brings me so much joy. And I have you to credit that too.
What's funny, I'm trying to remember. I think there was a moment where that like morality came up. I think it wasn't like anything egregious, like you're going to steal something, but it was like,
for the record, I don't ever steal.
This price is not the right. It was something like that. Like, and it was like, no, I think we should tell them that's
right. I was like, no, it's marked. They have to give it to me. And he was like, how about you just pay the price? And I was like, what is this world? Where do you come from? Like everybody wants to get over at some point. And I was like, oh, Eddie doesn't.
Well,
so that's a fun fact about me. I mean, honestly, the boundary that you set was morality, honestly.
Right.
And the boundary I set was like what I won't tolerate. I will not tolerate you disrespecting me. I won't tolerate you saying foul shit to me to where you think you have to apologize because I won't accept your apology.
You also set a boundary around that you wanted me to be reaching for more.
Yeah,
right?
I did.
And so me playing video games,
and that was out. That was out.
Yeah, trying to get really like seeking comfort, right? I
football on the couch on Sundays.
I think that was. I think it over time. You said, this is a boundary we need to kind of reset, right? Because I had kind of went full force. I mean, I had the whole
$450 fucking NFL package.
And so I think that was clear for me. But I think that's why this is so important, because I think people who are listening to this, either you're in a relationship or maybe you're starting a relationship, or maybe you've been in a relationship for so long and you really don't have clear boundaries and expectations that you vocalize, not in a heated argument and you're, telling someone how much they pissed you off, but in a way where you're saying, I just want to let you know, like, this is my boundary here.
Right.
Right.
Well, do you remember though? I remember Jasmine, our oldest, she was probably in 4th grade, and it had come out that someone was like, I don't want to say bullying her, but just like not treating her the best at school. And I remember sitting her down, having a conversation saying, it is your responsibility to teach people how to treat you. Right.
Right.
And this is what I mean by that. If you don't stand up to these little girls, then they will continue to disrespect you. If you don't teach people what you'll tolerate and what you won't, then there's going to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
And the issue that we couldn't figure out, she was like a foot taller than everybody, right? So I was like, if she only knew her strength, if she only knew her power, but that has become a lesson that we've tried to instill in all 3 of our daughters. You teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
So that's the title of this episode. And we want to give you some tools to be able to do that, because I think it's important, not just in relationships, like with the Tiny and T.I. Going back to that, he said, you gave up your voice.
Right.
You made a choice to be in a relationship with me, knowing that that was the kind of woman that I wanted. You didn't have to be that woman.
Right.
You forfeited whatever voice you thought you wanted or had or whatever in order to be with me. I didn't take that from you. And I want you to catch that, because no one that you're in a relationship with is taking anything from you. You're just relinquishing what you expect. You're relinquishing your expectations. You're relinquishing what you want.
Will happily take it because
all
they
the
get
time.
more of what they want, and then you get deprived of what you want, and then you get into the situation where you do turn into the victim.
Mm-hmm.
You forget that you gave it away.
Right.
You forget that you made so many compromises that they weren't no longer compromises. I think you said it best. You relinquished your power and you gave it to that person, and now that person has it, and they're like, why would I let go of this?
Right.
This is a great situation. I get to do what I want to do, right? And I don't have to worry about you saying anything about it because I have that power. You gave it to me.
Yeah.
And I think and I think when you reclaim it, that's where it gets difficult.
Right.
And people start going, wait a second, what are you saying now?
Right.
Like,
you're not the victim.
Right.
You gave it up.
And so when people go to reclaim it, they don't reclaim it in the right way. They reclaim it as if you stole it from me.
She should have reclaimed it as in like, hey, when we got together, I took a backseat to your career.
Right.
I decided that it was best for me to raise the kids. When you were gone, I stepped back into my power, the power I knew I always had, and I'm not willing to let it go. He might have been turned on by that shit, right?
And he may have said, that's not going to work.
Right.
And I think that would
have been him establishing a boundary, right? So when we talk about boundaries, I think it's important for you to understand, like, you're always compromising or accepting or tolerating something, and someone is always doing the same of you.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that what you're saying is sometimes it's implicit.
Right.
Like, you allow behaviors to continue and persist. Like, I know you can have friends that, significant other has a very bad drinking problem.
Right.
And
you've tolerated it.
Like, it started off maybe in social gatherings, and then it turned into, they drink, on a Friday night.
Pint
every
day.
And then all of a sudden it's, they drink beer every day. And I remember, and this is a good example, I remember when I started to drink a beer every night.
Mm-hmm. What did I say to you?
And then you said, I forgot, you said something.
I said, are you going to be an alcoholic?
Yeah.
And you were like, honey, it's one beer. I said, yeah, but one beer every single night, every single time you're sitting on the couch, every single day. That to me seems like a habit.
Yeah. And then it made me think like, I guess you're right.
Right. And then I said, and if you ever send one of our kids outside to get a beer out of the fridge for you, I'm going to lose my shit. Kids should not go fetch alcohol for their parents.
And now being 40 years old, like, that is clear to me that was an important part of our relationship because it stopped me from going down a path that could have been dangerous, but it also it made me think like, wow, okay, like, yeah, that's a problem.
Well, I valued
continue.
different things, I think, than you did. And together we came together and said, oh, that's a cool value. I might want to adopt that. Right. And so by me setting boundaries, by you setting boundaries, it made us better people. So back to Mike and Heather, he said, I jumped over on her side and I never looked back. And he said, most of my buddies are still single and they do things that single dudes do. And I don't even want to hang out with them because we're different. Right. And so the thing is he said, why would I not choose her? She makes me a better person. And they do kind of remind me, based on what he said, they do kind of remind me of us. So we thought that the Mike and Heather episode would be great for tonight or today, whenever you're listening to it. We're recording it at night because maybe you're not in a relationship. Maybe you're not in a marriage. Maybe it's you have a coworker, let's say, that's consistently taking credit for your ideas or your accomplishments at work. And you are just too timid to speak up or say anything. That is a specific example of how you are teaching them that it is okay to steal your shit.
Yeah, and it's almost
not
like...
up in here, sis.
No, and it's almost like you cannot rely on people to be always great.
Right. So remember, there's a consequence to everything in life, right? There's a consequence if I don't stand up to the fact that you just tried to take something from me, right? But there's a consequence if I do. This is not something I will tolerate. That could mean that a relationship is severed or strained or something. That's okay. I'll take that consequence all day because you're not stealing nothing from me
and
that I value.
Right. And I think that's so important, whether it be in the workplace or in a relationship. I think people are so fearful of losing their relationship, not thinking about the fact that if I compromise this, I will be in a horrible relationship for the next 10 to 15 years because I sacrificed too much, or my career is not going to reach its potential because I allowed someone else to take it.
Right. Here's another example of a boundary. If you consistently let someone be rude to you, take you for granted, disrespect you, right? That's going to continue.
Yeah.
It's just like a green light for the person to keep going. Doesn't make them an abuser. It makes you a tolerator, right?
And I guess the question is when does that scale tip? Like when do you become a person that is enabling someone versus someone that is actually abusing you?
Well, I think they're red flags.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what a red flag is. You can feel it. You try to avoid it. You act like it's not there, but you know it's there.
Yeah. But
so maybe the first time it's avoidance, right? And then the second time, I think it's God's way of saying, bitch, I showed you this. Are you going to pay attention to this one?
I've identified that you were married to the devil.
And so Maya Angelou says, people will show you who they are. You have to listen.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that has been one of the greatest life lessons that I've had. We talked before about this boyfriend that I had that was a lot older than me, that one time we got into a heated argument and he literally said, do you know how many women would die to be in your shoes?
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me, what?
Right.
And he was like, you live in a beautiful home, you have this, and, basically this life he thought he gave me. And I was like, immediately after that, I shut down. And this person that I loved, that I thought I was going to marry, I was like, I have to get out of this. Like literally
so
right there, I knew, right? And I cried the rest of the night and he tried to apologize for 2 weeks and I had to slowly move out. And it was this massive thing because I think people don't understand that when you break up with someone you love, that is painful.
Right.
But I had to break up with him because it was a red flag that I could not avoid. I
just don't know how you do that.
I saw my life flash in front of me. I saw myself with 2 kids. I saw myself fighting in a custody battle with him against my kids, for my kids. I saw literally, it was so vivid that this guy, obviously that's something that someone that has control would say. You think that because I moved into your house that you asked me to move into that happens to be a $4 million house, you think you can hold that over my head? Imagine what you'd hold over my head 10 years from now, 2 kids in, and maybe you're the breadwinner because you wanted me to stay home with the kids or something. I just saw my whole life being taken away from me and I didn't want it. So I had to leave somebody I cared about because It was a red flag for me, non-negotiable, fucking deal breaker. I'm going to be miserable and you're going to take my kids away from me.
Right.
We were nowhere near having kids, but we were talking about a future, right?
Right.
And so that was one of the lessons that I had brought into our relationship. You say some foul shit to me, I'm out. Period. Well, because I know that I could do it. Like I know that I'm capable of leaving you no matter how much I love you. You say some foul shit to me, I'm out.
Yeah, and I think that to me, I think that's powerful. And I think that there's so many women, particularly, that are in relationships wishing they did that.
And I hope and pray my daughters have that.
Yeah, and I think that what people have to realize is when people show you who they really are, you cannot mistake their apology as the real them.
Yep.
Right? The apology is apologizing for who they really are.
Yeah.
Right? Because they found out, oh, you don't really like that.
Right.
You have a problem with that. So let me apologize and cover it up. But don't think it's not going to come back around in a different version.
So I'm glad you said that. So here's what happened. I was living with him for over a year and a half. We were talking about getting married. I was basically a stepmother. And when that happened, it was not the first time, but it was that was the biggest one.
Right.
So that was like, my Angelo, she told me, if he shows you, then you better act on it. If not, that's your problem. Don't cry about it. Right. And I had to act on it.
You helped create the person.
So I slept in the other room that night. He was knocking on the door. He was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And I'm telling myself, bitch, yes, you did. Like, I know that you meant that. You're apologizing because you see that it's affecting the harmony in our relationship.
Right.
But if I would have let it slide, you wouldn't be apologizing. Right. So I slept in the other room. Next day when he went to work, I packed my shit. So he leaves a note on the kitchen counter with all kinds of roses, please, I'm sorry, don't blow this up. Don't try to make it look like I am being dramatic about this. You said some foul stuff and I can't tolerate it, right? So then in the note says, if this doesn't work, I'll come up with something better. Well, you better keep trying. So I left. Next day I come back, the entire living room full of roses. Full of roses. I cried because that was the nicest thing someone has ever done to me. I'm really sorry. I love you. Next day it says, if this doesn't work, I don't know what I'll do. I'll buy a tree or something. Next day, show up to get the rest of my belongings. There was a tree in our vaulted living room, a tree. Mm-hmm. And I was just like so torn and sad because like, you're going through all this. You're trying to keep me. I know you see the value in me. I know you must love me. That tree's really expensive. How did you hire a crew to bring in a tree? Like you pulled no stops, right? I left. And I remember the next day I tried to go back to get my remaining things and he changed the locks on me. That motherfucker changed the locks and was like, nope, this shit's mine. And I go, wait, what are you talking about? My stuff is in there. He goes, call the cops. Nope. You don't want to be with me? Well, you don't get your stuff. And I was like, I started laughing. I was like, I knew it. You slimy MF. Like, Are you kidding me? And he was like, nope, you don't want to be irrational? Then I'm going to be irrational too. And it was like, thank God. Yeah. It was like the validation that I needed. That didn't take away the pain or the heartbreak or the disappointment, but it was like, thank you, Jesus, for making him show me who he was, because that was all I needed. And
what's so funny is, well, I'll let you finish that because I have a thought.
Last thing, my friend Julian Montgomery, I grew up with him. He told me, I remember crying to him on his living room floor. And he said, how much stuff do you think you had in his house? I said, probably like, I don't know, $6,000 worth of furniture and stuff. And he goes, well, I think it's a bargain. Look at it this way. It cost you $6,000 to get that asshole out of your life. I think that's a bargain. And I was so cured after that. I was like, wow. Again, fast forwarding, thinking like, how much does a divorce cost? What does it cost if I have to fight for my kids and hire an attorney and, And I think it was one of the biggest lessons in my life. Julian Montgomery told me what a bargain.
That's awesome.
And, if it cost me $6,000 and I got you, I'm winning. So
that's a fantastic story. But what's interesting is he used what he threw in your face to try to keep you.
Against me.
No, to try to keep you. Okay. Think about it like this. He said, how many women would want to be in your situation?
Right.
You got this house.
Let me give her all the stuff.
Let me throw more of the things I think keep her in this relationship or have a certain level of control. And I think that like throwing the materialistic things and going above and beyond, which is just more of that, but a different version.
Right. You're right.
Right. And so, and it's hard to see when you're in that situation because you think there's a lot of emotion. But when you step back and you look at it, and this is for everyone listening to the podcast, if you're in a relationship where you didn't create clear boundaries and you feel like the relationship is toxic, and every time that person does something that you know you don't want to tolerate, but you tolerate, watch how they apologize, because they'll apologize in the same way that they hurt you.
That's hard to digest.
And I think that is so important, because if I did anything to hurt you, that you know that I would try to apologize in a way that I feel that's the most sincere. I'm not going to try to manipulate you by apologizing in a way that distracts you from what I did.
Right. Well, you're a good apologizer.
But that's the thing. But that's what people need to realize is I think sometimes people are in these relationships where people are being manipulated and people are using just a different version of the same tactic to keep people in that relationship.
Well, you got me good with that, because that's been 20 years and I haven't considered that. But yeah, you're right. He did use that. But then I feel like he completely flipped it on me and used it against me, right? Oh, all the love I had for you, now it's gone and I'm a monster because you're not giving me what I want. It showed me exactly how selfish you were.
Right.
It showed me exactly what your true colors are, right? So some ways to kind of detect this, I think, first of all, your feelers. You can tell if someone is disrespecting you or belittling you or taking advantage of you or manipulating you. You know it in your gut, but oftentimes women in particular, we turn a blind eye. We act like we don't see it. I'm just going to tell you, fine. First time, shame on the person, shame on the situation. Second time that shit comes up and you turn another blind eye, I hope you get smacked upside the head because you can't keep turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
So people, when they show you who they are, you have to listen.
Yeah, and I think you have to do it in a way that's really clear. Because I think the times that we have had conversations where you were creating a boundary or I think you were really clear. And I think
I'm not emotional.
Right. It
crying,
wasn't
irate.
why are you doing it? It wasn't sparking an argument. Right. And I think people go at it oh, I have to confront this. So I got to armor up.
Right.
And I got to come up with it with this intensity so that this person knows that I'm serious.
Right.
It's a lot of times it's the monotone, hey, are you really going to drink every day? That's something that
that got you good.
Yeah, I'm I think I even made that face no.
That's not acceptable.
Right. But we've talked about friends that you have that have these things have gotten out of control. And it started small and it got bigger.
So here's what I want to give you. I want to give you the fact that it's not your fault.
Yeah.
So there should be no blame that you place on yourself unless internally you say, I knew that I should have not turned my back to this, right? I knew that I should have addressed this. Okay, well, guess what? You're where you're at now, so you need to address it. There needs to be a verbal.
But you can't overcorrect.
You can't, right? But you made me lose my train of thought.
I'm so sorry. But no, what I'm saying is I was going down if you, it's not your fault.
It was about blame. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to course correct.
Yeah.
Right? And you're right, though. If I let you disrespect me, if I let you abuse me, if I let you hit me, why are you laughing? You look like you're smirking, you do that to me all the time or something.
Yeah.
If I let you do that stuff to me, I can't just one day be like, you know what? This doesn't work for me. I mean, I guess you can. That's bad advice.
No, but you can. You can. I think you can draw a line in the sand and you can say, I haven't said this and I've stood with this for too long.
Right.
But I need you. But you also have to understand, like you mentioned, there is now a consequence that the relationship may be over.
Exactly.
And we know of a relationship
might TI your ass.
That we will not name any names.
Okay.
But you've experienced it just from close proximity that a person was treated poorly and over time started to overcorrect it and start, really responding in the same type of veracity as that person. And so I think what happens is you allow your wife to talk to you crazy. You allow her to talk to you crazy. You allow her to talk to you crazy.
You now. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you say, fuck that. And now you, instead of drawing a line in the sand and saying, hey, we're not going to have a relationship where we talk to each other like this. You just start responding.
You start matching their tonality.
You start matching that person. And now you have this awful, toxic relationship.
Stressful.
Because you're trying to overcorrect the problem that you just never really set the boundary around.
Yeah, we know these people, guys. They're close to us. And it happens quite often,
Yeah, it does.
I will just say. So, I mean, this episode is titled, like, you know, how to draw a line in the sand, how to teach people how to treat you. I think the first thing comes down to, like, you know when something's wrong.
Right.
You know when it doesn't feel good, and you need to be able to advocate for yourself, right? But I do think it's important, like Heather and Mike's relationship. She said, here's the deal. You want to be on this side? You want to be on Team Heather? There can't be any side chicks. That's just the way I roll. So you got to decide. If that's something that you can't get with, I totally understand. Stay on that side of the line. I thought that was really awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah.
And I feel like more women should have the power to know that they can do that, because it would weed out so many idiots, right? Or if they're like smooth talkers, they'd be like, nah, baby, you know you're the only one, right? And then you see their true colors come out eventually.
Well, it was so funny because I was talking to a friend and, you know, just asking them how things were going. And, you know, he said, yeah, I'm dating a couple people. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then someone asked, like, you know, do they know that you're dating a couple of people? Them, or are they looking at it being serious? He goes, I think one of them, you know, thinks it's serious. And now as you say that, I think, wow, how vague is that?
Right.
Like, when does it turn into, this is a monogamous relationship and it's just going to be me and you? And then what needs to be said? And oftentimes nothing is said. It's just assumed. And that person's like, I thought we were just dating. Like, I didn't know. I went on another date and, you know.
Or like, you see me out, well, not you and me, but like if the girl saw him and he was like, oh, hey,
what's up?
Desiree, what's going on?
What's going on?
Who's that? Oh, this is Nicole.
Yeah.
And she thinks nothing of it.
What's
and
your
you're
problem?
over here tripping because there was no established boundary.
And I think people think once we sleep together, that's it.
We should be together.
And people are like, oh, no, I thought that was just part of the process.
I thought that's what you do when you're single.
Dating, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is you got to start with yourself. I think that you need to establish boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
With your happiness, with, you know, what you're looking for in a future relationship with yourself. Another thing I just want to say to the ladies out there and men, please don't stay with someone because you're in love with their potential.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see that this person could be a great such and such.
Because you put up with anything at that point.
Oh, my God. And you just sit there and take on the lifelong challenge of trying to groom somebody.
Right.
And I'm just going to tell you, it is hard enough to raise children, let alone try to raise a husband. That is not something that is sexy. And I don't want that. I don't want to be your mom. I don't want to have to teach you that kind of stuff, right?
And I think...
Have you been with somebody else that has established boundaries, would you say, prior to me?
Not like you. No, I think...
Well, you just painted me to be some rule maker.
But, you know, as we were talking about it, I was reflecting on that, and I was just like, wow, my wife has been really good. And there were boundaries that I needed, right? Because I think that in any relationship, someone's going to have a clearer picture of what they want in life than the other person. And I think I was pretty young when we first got married. I was very young when I first had kids. And I think that there was a moment of being lost of what I wanted.
Right.
And when you don't know what you want, you can't establish a standard or values that will help you get there.
Right.
Right. And I think that you had some understanding of your values and some standards that you wanted, and or you had a vision of a husband that you wanted to see. And I think that's where the boundaries come from. But I think that people get into relationships quite often and they don't know what they really want. And so they're willing to put up with anything because they're just confused.
Right.
Right. And I think that when you're confused and you don't know what you want, eventually you put up with things that you probably don't really want.
Well, you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. Right. And it was interesting because Mike said he has sisters, and his sister said, if I think he's trying to teach her how to manifest her perfect man and set standards and boundaries for herself. And she said, if I were to, make a list of everything I wanted a man to do or not do, I'd wind up with slim pickings kind of thing, right? And I'm like, well, that's one way to look at it, but it's also a shortcut to cutting all the bullshit out,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
And so I'm willing to take that route. Like, I'm willing to be single for a while and not tolerate a bunch of BS just for the sake of like, oh, yeah, we went out, I'm keeping busy, because just I think there's standards.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And I think when you have standards, they're clear. I think you protect your own mental health. I think you protect the relationship and the quality of the relationship. And I think that you can establish a clear communication that says, hey, this is what I would like to see out of our relationship. And I think that that is extremely healthy. And, God, we can talk about this for hours on end, because I think the whole boundaries things can go into many parts of your life. But I think
it's important to model how you want to be treated.
Right.
Like, I don't expect you to ever yell at me. I don't yell at you, right? I can think of the last time you upset me, though. And it's kind of funny. We were laying in bed. It was like 11:30 at night. We were getting ready to go to sleep. And Jordan said, you guys want to watch a Marvel movie?
Oh.
And I wanted to gouge my eyeballs out before I wanted to watch a movie at 11:30 at night, right? Mm-hmm. Like a Marvel movie at that's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, right? And so I literally turned to you, I rolled over and I said, the last thing I want to do on the planet is spend a few hours watching a Marvel movie. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. And Jordan came into the room and you said, get in the bed, babe. And she got in bed. And I love when Jordan is in our bed.
Yeah.
I love watching shows with her, but I didn't want to watch a fucking 3-hour movie at 11:30 at night. And I looked at you several times and you let it go on. And I was boiling. And I watched the whole fucking movie and I counted all my blessings and I was really happy. And I gave Jordan a kiss goodnight when it finally ended at 3 a.m. And then I turned to you and I said, that was real fucked up what you just did. Right? Uh-huh. And I was like, don't ever do that shit again. Like, you completely disregarded everything I said. What'd you say? I mean, it wasn't an argument. We were very quiet, right? Right before bed.
Yeah.
I said, it's like you just completely disregarded all the social cues I sent you. I mentioned it to you. I was very clear in my communication. What went wrong? And I don't even know. You're looking at me crazy right now.
I'm not looking at you crazy.
I was so pissed at you. But did I yell at you?
No. And
I still kissed you goodnight.
And I told you, like I said, I apologized and said, I misread that. Like, I thought.
Misread? What? You might have misread a subtitle, but you didn't misread what the hell boundary I tried to set that you ran all past. Anyways.
Right. But
our marriage survived.
We survived, right? We survived. But, I think that is what this episode's about. It's about
clear communication.
It's about clear communication. When someone violates a boundary, doesn't mean they're an awful person. Doesn't mean that they are Satan.
And you don't do it often.
But it's your responsibility. It was your responsibility to reaffirm.
Hey, that doesn't fly.
You violated my boundary that I set, and you disregarded how I felt about it. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
Right.
And I apologize. It won't happen again.
Right.
And I think that being in a relationship where you can have those things, we're not going to be perfect. There are going to be things that you say, I didn't like that.
Right.
Why'd you do that? And
I think you misread. I don't know I don't know what or how, but I think you wanted to enjoy a movie. And I just was like, take that shit in the living room.
But I wasn't exercising great awareness.
Right. You were not, but I still love you. So I hope this episode served you guys. I mean, it's really just about if that coworker at work is driving you crazy, if someone's being disrespectful, just know that it's your responsibility to advocate for yourself. It's your responsibility to stand up for yourself because you are showing people how to treat you. 100%. And the more that you tolerate, the more that you allow, the more that is causing discomfort or stress, you are enabling the behavior until you're willing to advocate for your sanity, for your safety, whatever it is that you need. So don't be a victim here. You've got to accept some of the responsibility. Don't blame yourself, but accept the responsibility, make a change, advocate for yourself, draw a line in the sand, like Heather said, and decide what the hell side you want to be on.
Yeah.
So thank you so much to Mike and Heather for inspiring this episode. If you have something that you would like to share with us that, might get some of our juices going for another podcast episode, please, that's the best place to put it, in a damn review. Leave a 5-star review. Tell us a topic that you'd like us to cover, and we're happy to shout you out, happy to have a conversation. Yeah, till the next time, push through.
There you go.
Thank you for listening to the Push Podcast. Hey, we want to hear from you. So if you have a question or there's a particular topic that you want us to tackle and you want us to help you push through, you got to do something for us. You got to go to Apple Podcasts and you got to leave a rating and a review. And in that review, go ahead and leave that question with your Instagram handle so that we can shout you out when we actually answer the question. And we'll talk about that on the podcast and make sure that, hey, this particular podcast is made for you. So leave a rating, leave a review, leave your handle, and until next time, push through.